Hey everyone, it's me, Ben Holland, and today I'm going to talk about minor keys and how to use them. But first, let's take a listen to these two melodies. The two phrases look and sound very similar, but have two very vastly different effects. The first one is in a major key, and the second one is in a minor one. But why do they sound so different? Well, that's what this video is about. The why behind minor keys. So first of all, what is a minor key? Well, the main difference in minor keys starts with the intervals. For example, in a major chord of any key, like C major, we will take the root or the first note of the scale, for example C, and the third note, E, and the fifth, G. This creates what is known as the major triad. Have a listen. It feels happy and joyful, and this is used a lot by composers to reach that desired effect. However, minor keys make one simple change that fundamentally affects the perceived feeling of the chord. In the C minor chord, the notes are taken once again, C and G, but the difference now is that third, the E, is lowered by a half step, becoming E flat. This is also known as the flat third or flat 3. And composers do this in order to get this darker, more solemn effect out of the music. However, we don't just have minor chords, we also have minor scales, 3 of them to be exact, all coming from changes to the default major scale. The first one is the natural minor, the second one is the harmonic minor, and the third is the melodic minor. To start, and this is very important, we need to take the pattern of the major scale, which, starting from the root, or just any note on the piano, is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. This is the basis of what builds every major scale. Let's start with the natural minor. For the natural minor, you take the major scale and flatten 3 notes, the third, the sixth, and the seventh. This creates a bleak, very dark sound, which is commonly used across classical and orchestral music. An example of this is the opening of Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, where he uses minor chords to create dreadful feeling in any of his listeners. Second, let's take a look at the harmonic minor. For this one, you take either the natural minor and raise the seventh, or take the major and only flatten the third and the sixth. This raised seventh creates a pull to the root of the scale and feels very dramatic and full of tension. A classic example of this is with the very opening of Mahler's Second Symphony, where the cellos and basses in 16th note runs use the harmonic minor scale. Finally is the melodic minor. This scale is built the most strangely. When going up, harmonically the only note that is flattened is the third, sounding very smooth and sometimes almost sounding a little bit major. But when it goes in descent, it reverts back to the natural minor to avoid awkward leaps in slow, lyrical, connected lines like Tchaikovsky's second movement in his Fifth Symphony, where the French horns are written using this melodic minor scale. I hope that you learned at least something from this video, and if you did, I have a challenge for you. Next time you listen to a piece of music in a minor key, try and figure out which minor it is and why that composer may have chosen that minor for their piece. Subscribe to stay tuned for next week, where I will have a deep dive into the composer that mastered the symphony.